you've been so open and honest about your past relationship, about the mind space that you were in when you were looking to retire from UFC and from MMA. Was there something that kind of broke the straw that broke the camel's back for you to go, I got to get out of this relationship? Or like just like some advice for people that might be listening that could be in a similar situation and you're in the weeds and you're in the deep end and you don't see how you're able to get out of a situation like that.
Yeah. So granted, I don't think there's a one size fits all, piece of advice, but what I can tell you from my personal experiences, I was in a really bad place mentally and emotionally. I was definitely suffering from depression. And it was on and off for years, to be honest. I mean, I think it just really came to a head where I broke. I just mentally and emotionally, I could not handle it anymore. I had, after, 9 years of it, and it just progressively getting worse and worse and worse. Like, nobody can tell you when is the right time to exit a toxic relationship. That has to be something that you decide. But what I will say is that you're stronger than you know. And when you know it's the right time to leave, you will do it. You'll make it happen. And sometimes that means that you have to pack up and run away in the middle of the night. Like, don't beat yourself up for that. If that's how you have to exit, that's how you have to exit. Granted, my relationship was not, I'm sure it's not as bad as some can be. It's not like I was like physically beaten, but I was definitely emotionally and mentally abused, like without question. He would gaslight a lot. He would do a lot of things to, build me up in the ways he wanted to, just to break me down. I remember distinctly thinking that, you always do that. You build me up to break me down. Like, you just crush me. You'll say something nice and then you'll just take it all away. You want me to feel like I can't leave and I can't do it on my own. And he would always tell me, no one will love you as much as I love you. I'm like, that can be a nice thing to say if you mean it like, I love you more than anything. That's a nice way to say that. But to tell you like, you're not, almost like I'm not worthy of it.
Yeah.
That's how I felt like it came. Oh, it was always portrayed to me that I'll never find that anywhere else. Like, I better just stay. And then I tried numerous times. I probably tried for like a good 4 or 5 years before it actually ended. So the latter 50% of the relationship was like me trying to find a way out a lot of the time. And I had an ex who committed suicide while we were dating. And that was really tough for me. Yeah, really, really hard on me. Granted, we were together even just less than a year. And I think, he had a lot of demons that had nothing to do with our relationship. But point in case is that when you experience losing someone that way, it is one of the most devastating and difficult things to deal with. And you have a lot of, you feel a lot of guilt. You feel like you should have or could have done more, that you should have recognized the signs, and that you failed that person. And then moving forward to my relationship with my ex was 9 years long. Every time that I would try to leave, that's what he would threaten.
Oh God.
Yeah. So it was just like, I basically, I think, chose to hurt myself instead of hurt him. I chose to stay in the toxic relationship and situation as opposed to leaving and hurting him. So it was like a slow death for me, and finally
I feel like women do that to themselves a lot though. Women carry so much of that brunt. We're like, we can handle it. We can take it.
Yeah.
We absorb so much of that. And it's so easy to put that pressure on yourself instead of looking out for yourself.
Exactly. And, I don't want to sit here and just say like, oh, the whole relationship was horrible and that, he's this awful person. At the end of the day, I wish him nothing but the best. I just don't want him a part of my life anymore. And I see clearly now the damage that was done at the time. And even though there were all these red flags and, I had been isolated from my family, my parents weren't a part of my life anymore. My family wasn't, because I think it was difficult for them to watch as well. They knew a lot of the abuse that was going on, and there's nothing that they could say or do to make me see it any different. It's just, I had to experience it and I had to go through it and I had to get out of it on my own. And I think when you're with somebody who does that, to you, it's like they slowly kind of tear apart any support system that you would have to be able to leave.
Yeah. It's completely isolate you.
Yes. Anybody who disagrees or sees their true colors or isn't on their side when it comes to it, they want to get those people away from you. Mm-hmm. And that's really what happened. And that's why it just got to a point where it was so difficult. It was so difficult. Oh my God, it was hard. But I think you asked me the straw that broke the camel's back. Well, it was definitely I would say in huge part to the fight with Amanda. When I had that fight with Amanda, he went to the fights that were the night before. So because it was International Fight Weekend. So it was like, I think it was Friday and Saturday fights, and mine was Saturday. He went to those fights. He showed up very late to my weight cutting. And he was intoxicated and he smelled like beer. And then he brought a bunch of these random like basketball players with him to like a weight cut, which if you've never done it or never been a part of it, just let me paint a picture really quick. You are it physically in one of the like weakest positions that you've ever been in. You're usually in a full-on sweatsuit. You're laying there, feel like you're half dying, you're trying to sweat out this water weight. You can't drink, you can't eat. And you're just you have to go into another place in your mind to like be able to get through that. And it's not a time when you would want anybody around who may not understand that process, who you don't know, who may judge you, who may not understand that you're not saying hi, you're not being, cordial, any of that stuff, mm-hmm. right? You just don't want that energy to break your focus. And you're also trying to focus on, okay, winning the fight before the fight, that's the weight cut, but you're also trying to focus on the fight, right? So you just don't want detractors. And that's what I mean is just like, it was always like that. It was always about him. It was never about me. And then I remember I had a really hard weight cut that fight, and I barely made it. And then I didn't get like almost any sleep. And the day of the fight, he had organized this, it was the day of weigh-ins because we weigh in the morning. I was so exhausted. I just wanted to sleep because I had pretty much had no sleep that night. And he had organized this like dinner with like friends and family. And he was like, you have to go to it. You have to. I was like, but I am so exhausted. I can't, and he just like wouldn't let me sleep because he was in the same room. Like he just would like, wouldn't like, so childish, right? Which wouldn't let me sleep. Like, you have to go. I organized all this, I was like, you don't think those people would understand if I said I had a really hard weight cut and I'm just exhausted and I need to sleep and I need to rehydrate and I need to focus on that. And he was like, no, you have to go. You have to go. So I went or whatever. And it just, those things, like they just add up at the end of the day. It takes too much, too much away from you. And then, so we separated shortly after that. I think it was like a week, like not even a week after that.
Wow.
So yeah, it was, and I did it when I left to go corner one of my best friends, Cindy, because I had tried so many times to break up with him in the way that was like face to face, right? Like the mature way, the way that you feel like this is the way it should be done when you care about somebody. But he would never have it. Like talk about like blocking me in a room, like not letting me exit the room.
Oh my God.
Like that kind of stuff, where it was just like, yeah, it was not okay. Like it wasn't healthy. So eventually I just did it. I'm not proud of this, but I did it just via a text message and shut my phone off because I knew if I gave an inch, he'd take a mile, and I didn't come home. I just stayed where I was at. And then I did a road trip back and I just kind of shut it off because I knew I needed the time away from that to gain my strength back and find my ground, because I was on such shaky ground, and he knew how to manipulate my heart, manipulate my mind, make me feel like I was a bad person, that I was going to cause him to take his own life, that I was doing things like, that this was a horrible thing for me to do. This was wrong. And so I just had to shut it off, and I had to like just remove myself from the situation until I could really stand on my own.